The year is 125. AD Rome stands at the height of its imperial power. Its marble cities, stretching from the deserts of Africa to the misty forests of Britannia. The Colosseum roars with the blood of gladiators, while legions march on roads that carve order into chaos. Yet beneath the stone and discipline of empire, there existed another realm, a realm of imagination, speculation, and wonder. For even in an age defined by swords and sandals, there were men who dreamed of other worlds, other beings, and other skies, long before the word science fiction was ever spoken. The seeds of the genre had already been planted. Human beings, after all, have always wondered what lies beyond the horizon, beyond the earth, beyond the stars. The Romans and Greeks, inheritors of ancient myths, philosophers of the unknown, filled their scrolls with visions that today we would recognize as startlingly modern. Consider Lucian of Samosata, a Syrian satirist writing in the 2nd century, just decades after 125 AD in his work True History. He described voyages to the moon, encounters with extraterrestrial life, and interplanetary wars fought between lunar and solar civilizations. His tale, meant as parody, nonetheless revealed something profound. Humanity's imagination was already leaving Earth, stretching into the cosmos. He wrote, "When I looked up, I suddenly saw a whirlwind, which caught up our ship and carried us a distance of 3,000 stadia in the air, and then alighted us on an island in the sky." These words, penned nearly 2,000 years ago, carry the rhythm of science fiction's beating heart. But Lucian was not alone. Long before him, the philosopher Plutarch Live, during the early years of the Roman Empire, speculated about the moon, not as a divine goddess, but as a place, a world with valleys, mountains, and perhaps inhabitants. He mused, "It is likely that the moon is inhabited, and its dwellers look on Earth as their moon." In such a statement, we hear the echo of later science fiction, the inversion of perspective, the reminder that humanity is not the center of the universe. In Alexandria, the great library gathered scrolls where speculation danced with scholarship. Heron of Alexandria, an inventor who lived in the 1st century AD, created devices so advanced they seemed magical. Automatic doors powered by steam, mechanical birds that sang, even rudimentary automata that could move on their own. To the Romans, these were marvels of engineering. To us, they appear as prototypes of a mechanized future, the first whispers of artificial intelligence. Imagine a Roman citizen, torchlight flickering, watching a metal puppet march forward. Would they not have felt the uncanny spark of life where none should exist? The world of 125 AD was alive with these collisions of reality and imagination. Astronomers mapped the heavens with geometric precision, while poets spoke of flights through the ether. The philosopher Seneca wrote of comets as travelers through infinite space, declaring, "Why not admit that these phenomena are eternal wanderers, driven by their own will?" In such words lies the germ of the spacefarer, the rogue ship adrift between stars. The Roman imagination was also steeped in myths that carried the seeds of science fiction. Daedalus, with his mechanical wings, was an engineer as much as a myth-maker's hero. The tale of Phaethon, who lost control of the sun's chariot, reads as a parable of technological disaster. And Prometheus, who brought fire to mankind, was not unlike the archetypal scientist, daring the wrath of the gods to advance human power. These myths, alive in the minds of Romans in 125 AD, blurred the boundary between divine imagination and speculative invention. Yet beneath this flowering of thought, there was tension. The empire, though mighty, was fragile. It ruled by force, and it censored dissent. Ideas that stretched too far beyond the acceptable risked being silenced. But imagination is difficult to chain. In dimly lit rooms, philosophers debated infinity. In marketplaces, storytellers spun tales of creatures from other realms. In the silence of temples, priests studied the heavens for omens, not knowing they were also gazing toward the same stars that would inspire Kepler, Galileo, and eventually modern science fiction writers like Jules Verne and Arthur C. Clarke. If we step into the streets of Rome in 125 AD, we would find an empire proud of its mastery of the known world. Marble statues glisten in the sun, aqueducts arch across valleys, and soldiers enforce order with steel. Yet in the taverns and villas, in the quiet gardens of philosophers, and in the scrolls of scholars, a parallel world existed, a world not bound by geography but by imagination. The citizens of Rome looked to the heavens with curiosity, and that curiosity bred stories of cosmic voyages and celestial beings. And here lies the heart of the matter. Science fiction, even in its earliest glimmers, was never just about the stars. It was about humanity. Lucian mocked the arrogance of men by placing them among alien societies. Plutarch challenged Earth's centrality by imagining lunar life. Myths of Prometheus and Daedalus warned of ambition and the peril of invention. Science fiction in 125 AD was a mirror, reflecting both human hope and human folly. The immediate impact of these works may have been small. Few in Rome would have called them serious, yet their legacy rippled outward. Centuries later, Renaissance thinkers rediscovered ancient texts, and with them, the daring speculation of the past. Lucian's voyages would inspire Kepler's Somnium, often called the first true work of science fiction. The mechanical wonders of Heron would foreshadow the automation of the Industrial Revolution. The questions of Plutarch and Seneca would blossom into astronomy and astrophysics. Today, when we watch a spacecraft soar past the moon, or read of civilizations on distant exoplanets, we are not merely engaging with modern invention. We are carrying forward a conversation that began nearly 2,000 years ago. The Romans of 125 AD may not have spoken of warp drives or wormholes, but they dared to imagine movement through space, life beyond Earth, and machines that mimicked human will. Why does this matter? Because it reminds us that science fiction is not a genre born in the 19th century. It is a human instinct as old as civilization itself. It grows from our hunger to understand, to create, to speculate. To the Romans, the future was unknowable, the stars unreachable. Yet some among them still dreamed. And so, as we close this journey into 125 AD, we see not an empire of stone and steel, but one of imagination. The amphitheaters and aqueducts may crumble, but the visions of lunar voyages, mechanical wonders, and cosmic speculation remain alive in our own storytelling. They connect us across millennia. To those who first dared to imagine, this is the story of science. Fiction from 125 AD, a story not of spaceships and lasers, but of human curiosity stretching beyond its limits. A reminder that even when chained by empire, by superstition, by the constraints of their time, people still looked up and dreamed of what might be. Bringing such stories to life takes effort, research, and passion. If you value high-quality, historical storytelling, your support ensures that these forgotten chapters of imagination are not lost. Together, we can continue to tell the stories that remind us not only of where we have been, but of where humanity might yet go.